What's up, Ham Fam? We are back in studio for another episode of Hard as a Mother. And for those of you who are just tuning in and don't know us, we are Har and Jizzy, just two moms on a mission to create a safe space to share the honesty and the realness of parenting. Because we all know raising children is no cakewalk. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Harleen. Bow, bow.
Bow, bow. Hey. I need to find something else to say besides bow, bow. So I'm like,
Why?
hey.
It's so cool.
I don't know, but thank you again for a lovely introduction. And it's always good to be back. Oh, I thought you wanted me to give you a high five.
No, girl, I was telling you to move your mic up because you're a little quiet.
Why is it always that I have a problem with that? Okay, so it's always so good to be back in our second home, which is the studio. So let's talk about Ham being almost 1 year old.
I can't even believe that we've been doing this for a year.
It's been such a freaking whirlwind.
I know. And it's getting better. So
It is.
Stay tuned, guys. We have so much going on.
You know what? It's just, well, first of all, thank you for trusting me to be your co-host. It's been quite an adventure. Guys, you guys have no idea how much crap it's not crap, okay? How much stuff that I'm learning. I'm learning about myself, about other people, and how open that I'm allowing people to bring in their energy into my space. Because usually I'm like, I have enough people in my space, but I feel like this freaking mic.
It's been a year and you're still not used to the mic.
I'm not used to it. And I just feel like I've allowed a different type of energy to come in.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting better. And now I'm just like, I want all this energy, and I just more. So
I think the older you get, the more important it is to protect your energy and be around the people who can give that back to you, you know, because otherwise, I don't know, I'm just very particular about who I spend my energy on.
Yeah, and sometimes your energy should just not go there. But that's for another segment.
That's a whole other podcast.
But
So yeah, don't forget to save the date on May 12th. That's our birthday, and we're going to celebrate with you guys virtually, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, save the date. And we also want to thank you guys for your continued support. If you want to continue supporting your girls and bringing meaningful content, buy us a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/HAMother. That's buymeacoffee.com/HAMother, and we'll also put the link at the bottom here.
yeah, exactly. So we also have YouTube's. First of all, we have 100 subscribers.
Finally.
Woo, finally. I mean, to people, you might not think that's a lot, but for us, that's like a lot of grind, okay? And these are people who actually and truly subscribe because they're always wanting to know what's up with Ham, right? So thank you so much. We are super, super grateful. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on Instagram. We've did our first TikTok video.
Was that our first?
Yeah, it was our
I
first. So much fun. But don't miss any of that. So make sure you guys click subscribe or share with anyone you think that could benefit from some of our content. But yeah, so guys, today's episode contains some sensitive subject matter and could cause some triggers. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to make a joke with it, which I'm not, because it's like this particular topic is really it's near and dear to me. And mostly it's things that I would never share, but I feel like for every woman who goes through this, they become powerless and speechless, and we need to get our voices back. So domestic abuse in Canada is more common than you think. A woman is killed every 6 days by her partner. 70% of people who experience family violence are women and girls. So remember, there are many reasons why women don't leave abusive relationships, and domestic abuse comes in many, many forms. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO or you're just a nurse or whatever. It doesn't. Domestic violence comes in all forms. So I want people to understand that.
So I'm actually really excited and honored to have today's guest with us today. She is a daydreamer, food lover, hopeless romantic, rule breaker, and directionless wanderer. She's dedicated, passionate, motivated, emotionally triggered, tattooed, woo, and raising 2 incredible little girls and empowering them and herself. So we want to welcome Josie. Hi, Josie.
Welcome. I love that intro, first of all. Holy shit.
When people are like, what's your deal? I'm like, I don't really have a deal. I'm like,
Take me for who I am.
yeah. I'm like, I love food.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think the hardest thing to do is write your own bio.
Yeah.
For sure. And so I'm going to take a page from your book and do that next time.
Well, I mean, like professional bio, I'm like, I was this and I was that. And like literally Josie of all trades. So, so professional bio is like, you go through your professional career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when they actually ask you, like, what's your personal bio? You're like, oh yeah, I'm a person.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm a person in here.
I think I'm interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm. Well, no, actually, I don't. But not
No.
anymore. I used to be. And
No,
now I'm
you're
like,
still interesting. Come on.
like status quo mom.
Girl, if you were not interesting, you wouldn't be sitting here with us.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
So you had just said Josie of all trades. What is that and why? Why do you call yourself that?
So I was born and raised on a farm.
Yeah.
So I mean, we grain farm, so like nothing interesting with like cows and horses or anything like that, but like learned mechanics, came to Calgary from up north, Alberta, came to Calgary, and I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was like, I had, so I jumped into this aircraft mechanics program, loved it, did that for, until I got certified, and then went in because it was kind of like, it's kind of a weird trade. You kind of get a lot of work and then no work. So then I was bartending and waitressing, and then I did, I worked at like Money Mart, and then I was a mortgage specialist. And then I was property manager. I ran a day home for 5 years. And now I'm project manager and for a restoration company. It's like everything.
So you know a lot of stuff about stuff.
I know a lot of stuff about stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people are like, so who are you? I'm like, who do I identify with? There's
Yeah.
like so many of me.
But the thing is, I could literally probably put you in any situation and you'll be fine.
I hit the ground running. My mom says that I'm a cat because I always land on my feet because I'm
Yeah.
like, I just got laid off. I don't know what to do. And then I'm like, boom, 2 days later, I'm back at work. And I'm like, I love it. This is great. And so,
Do you think it's the energy that you put out? Like, you would probably worry. I'd worry. And then do you think it's just like the energy that you have or you think you're
I
lucky?
love
What do you think it is?
challenges.
Okay.
Like any kind of challenge, I'm in. Like, so when somebody throws me into a different direction, and like, of course, changes make you uncomfortable, right? Especially when you have a routine and whatnot. But I've always been pushed into different directions, and it's never failed me. So
See, and this is why we should normalize kids not knowing what to do when they grow up.
Yeah.
Like when they don't know what they want to be.
I'm 35 years old, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
But look at you now. Like you love challenge. You always hit the ground running. Tell me again how you're not interesting.
Just like I've done a cajillion different things.
I think people who say that someone isn't interesting in some sort, it's just because that particular person doesn't know how to dig deep or actually get that information from someone who actually is interesting. Because we're not going to sit here and be like, well, let me tell you about me, right? It's more like you have to unlayer specific people because people are actually pretty interesting. It's just something that we don't, like, I don't divulge those information because it's not like the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Harleen. I'm XXXX.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Divorced mother and
Hey, usually don't lead with that shit.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said you had tattoos. Giselle also has a tattoo.
I'm like tatted. I used to be super cool.
You are cool.
You are
You
cool.
can't say you used to be. You are badass. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
You're badass.
So I've got like arm sleeve, half sleeve. My back is covered. Half leg done, and I mean some on my chest.
That's badass.
You know what? I think so.
I think so.
I think
I
so.
am like PTA's worst nightmare.
Whatever, man. Those bitches don't know what's coming to them.
Do you because you have two girls. How old are they?
7 and 9.
Okay. One's going into like preteen already.
Yeah. Oh no, they're both
Going
there.
into preteen.
Yeah,
I guess they're
both.
only 2 years apart, right?
Yeah.
So when you walk into like parent-teacher interview and you like have your tattoos, like does anybody make comments about it, or like
Absolutely, all the time.
or moms or other parents?
No
that
way.
Are there?
Do they
I don't know.
My kids. So I'm French. I'm francophone. My family's from New Brunswick. So my kids go to a francophone school. So I feel like it's not just like a normal public school, where I feel like it's almost like a little bit labeled and cliche and cliquey. And so when I walk in there, they kind of look at me up and down. And then of course I walk in there and everyone's with their spouse and whatnot. And, you know, I after leaving my husband, I walked in there with my new girlfriend. I was like, I don't care. And she had like these big long dreads, and she was, you know, like, so I'm like, I am that person. And I've always, you know, they always look at me up and down and like, what the hell's going on with this one now?
That says more about them than it does about you, though. So.
Yeah. And I'm confident.
Fuck it.
I'm confident, and I don't mind it at all. And
But they're judgy, because I can only say this because when I like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I haven't judged people, because I have.
Yep.
It's probably because I'm not interesting myself, and I was like, oh. And then when I think about it, of the way that I acted before, it's just I was lame. That's the problem. I was a fucking lame person that it would have probably been better to have had the conversation so I could, one, be educated, or two, learn something new. But instead I was like, oh, well, look at that slut with her, what is that, girlfriend? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was just saying that.
They just don't realize that. I think a lot of them are just still have that really simple mind that like tattooed people are drug addicts, or they're, you know, no, like I'm actually very career oriented and motivated, and I own my own home, and I own my own vehicle, and I, you know, and I do it all on my own, and I'm a mother of 2, and they're happy and they're healthy, and they have bikes, and we, you know, Sundays.
Like, you provide.
Yeah. And like Sundays we go for a nice stroll in the park. Like, I'm still a normal person.
Right. It doesn't make you any less of a person just because of what's on your body, which is ridiculous.
I don't have a Harley. Like, I don't.
But that'd be badass if you had one, though.
If I could afford one, I would.
And I think like the root of this episode is going to prove that.
Yeah.
That you are such a very resilient and interesting person. Let's move your mic a little closer, actually.
Okay.
So let's get to why you're here. I want to know a little bit more about your struggle with an abusive relationship.
Okay. Well, I met my ex-husband when I was bartending, he was a regular at my bar, which number one red flag. But of course, I came from a small town. I was really naive, and I was super vulnerable. I mean, I was strong. I feel like I was a strong person then. I was always super confident, and I feel like and if anybody was tried to fuck with me, I would have told them off, and I did. But we had been friends, 7 years before we hooked up. And the craziest thing is that we had been friends for 7 years, and I had zero idea he had kids. I had zero idea he was married. None whatsoever until we had been together for like 3 months. And then I'm like, hey, instead of hanging out at my house, let's go hang out at your house. And he's like, and then it all kind of just came tumbling down, right? Like, oh, he's married and he has 4 kids. And yeah, so, and then at that point, I trusted him. We had been friends. Like, he was one of my best friends. So, and manipulative and such a fucking liar now that I'm looking back. But, I trusted him, and he was like, look, I'm going to leave her. We're going to be together. Everything is going to be good. We got married. I had my daughter, and we got married 6 months later. And then, it's probably say a month or 2 before the wedding is when I knew that I was going to be in trouble. And I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is not going to last. Like, I was like, I feel like there's no out, but I know that this isn't going to be forever. He was like starting to I could see a drinking issue. You know, he would leave to go to work and he wouldn't come back for 5 days.
Oh.
And then when he'd come back,
And you guys live together.
we lived together.
Did he work like out of town?
No.
Okay.
He had
How do
his
you
own
just-
business.
I'm sorry, but how do you just not come home after 5 fucking days?
Yeah. And then he would like, I mean, there was I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him.
And you had kids by this time.
I had a child, and then he would leave me. He had 4. The 2 eldest kind of didn't want a whole lot to do with him, which I understand why. But he had, I think there were probably about 6 or 7 at the time, and they would be with us 50-50. So he would just take off and be like, I'm going to work, and he was self-employed, and then he would just not come back. And then when he'd come back, I'd be livid. I'd be like, you left me at home with a baby and 2 kids that don't belong to me. But of course, they sort of do, right? But I'd be like, you just left. Like, and our account would be drained, and he would find a way to spin it on me and make me
The bad guy?
the bad guy, him the victim. So we got married. I mean, it was like gunshot wedding, pretty much. Like,
Did a part of you think that the wedding was going to maybe fix things?
no.
No.
I knew. I knew going into it. And my mom actually married us. And she, an hour prior to it, she was like, please don't do it. She's like, I really don't want you to. And she's like, if you do it, she's like, I'll never say anything again, but I really want you to think this through. And so we got married anyway. I felt like I had to. I had a baby with him, and I was in love with his children. His children were amazing, and he was my friend for 7 years. And anytime that anything would go south, he would promise me things would get better.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So, and then he had, for the first year, it was really, really horrible. He hit me once. I was pregnant with my second. He hit me, there was pushing and shoving quite often, but the one time he nearly knocked me out, I saw bright lights, couldn't eat for, a week. Like, my jaw wouldn't even shut properly. Like, I couldn't even, and I really thought that the second baby would help. I thought it would help him calm down. And he's actually quite older than I am. I'm 35 and he just turned 50. So I'm like, maybe, this other baby would kind of, so as much as I'd love to say that he did stop drinking for a while, but the an abuser and his abuser, like, it's not alcohol that turns somebody, it probably makes it more volatile.
Yeah.
But he was still very much abusive. And I mean, it just led to him not leaving as much and not being MIA as much. Really, the drinking. But then he was just at home more.
So in hindsight, it was
like,
better that he was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, I mean, it was like, it was such a weird balance, because I'm like, well, when he was gone, it was calmer around the house, and at least I didn't have the anxiety of having him there. However, when he'd leave, I'd be like, how much money is he going to spend? And what am I going to be left with?
Yeah.
And how much am I going to have to work my ass off to make up for the fact that he just spent $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 drinking? So it was rough. It was, yeah.
I'm going to dial back just a little bit.
Yeah.
The first time that he's ever laid a hand on you, because you had said that you're a strong person. Well, you thought you were a strong person.
Yeah.
But you are. I'm pretty sure you are.
I am, yeah.
I also feel like people who have been in that situation will say that. And the only reason I say that is not a lot of people will know that, because I, too, have gone through the same situation as you. And I don't publicly say it. And I think Giselle and I talked about it. It's taken me almost a full year to disclose this on this podcast. When he, I first laid hands, what was the first initial thing? Because at first you're saying like, what the fuck? I'm a strong person. I'm this. And you would never let that happen. Because I've made that comment before where I wasn't in that situation, and then I knew someone, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl? I'm like, just leave him. I would never let a man lay hands on me, XYZ. Like, I'm a strong woman, but I fell into it. So what was your first initial thoughts when he laid hands on you, and then what did you do at that time?
I think the first time that he ever laid hands on me was shock, because I trusted him so much. We were such good friends for so long prior. And then my reaction was, what did I do wrong?
You blamed yourself.
I blamed myself. I'm like, where? And that's how they work. That's how abusive people work. They make you question your own sanity. They make you question your own actions, your own thoughts. And like, I mean, and it's not just abuse, it's gaslighting, you know, like changing every situation to make them the victim and you the bad guy. So at this point, prior to this, there was so much verbal abuse that I had gotten into a place where I wasn't strong anymore. Like he really knew how to hit those buttons. Like he really knew, like I've never been a skinny girl, and I was always okay with that. I'm athletic, I run, but I'm not going to sit there and count my calorie intake, and I'm not going to sit there and eat broccoli and chicken for months straight in order to have a six-pack. That's never been my thing. Praise the women who can do it. I'm not one of them. I love my chocolate. But he would make me feel so like just physically, emotionally, like spiritually stunted. Like and it was just little by little, like the little chips that he would take away. It was, at first it was my friends, and he didn't like my friends. And then it was my family, and he didn't like my family. And then when I had nobody to fall back on or nobody to talk to, and he was the only person I had, I was completely isolated, then the abuse really started. And then it was, it was like, you're fat, you're stupid, you're worthless, and it's, so when he hit me, my first thing was, it's because I'm fat. Because I'm stupid. It's because I'm worthless. It's because I'm a shitty mother. It's because I'm, and I'd be like, okay, so how can I fix this? And it would always be like well, maybe if I make like a really nice pot roast tomorrow, or maybe if I do my hair really pretty, and then it would turn around and he'd be like, why are you doing your hair really pretty?
Who are you? Are you fucking? Yeah.
Who are you planning on seeing? And it'd be like, listen, dude, I don't have any friends. You've taken away I did not have Facebook anymore, Instagram anymore, which whatever, but I didn't have a cell phone. Like I said, my family is French. I couldn't even talk to my family on the phone. If I spoke to them, it would be in English only. I wasn't even allowed to speak to them in French. It was just complete isolation and complete, like he had me in a hole. So at that point, it was just, I'm the bad guy, and how can I make this better? And if I don't have a cell phone anymore, then he has to trust me, because there's no way for me to get hold of anybody. But if I take away this and and it was like, soon enough, I will get those privileges back. Yeah. And it was a constant trying to be a better person so I would no longer get abused.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong here, because when we talk about it, when we talk about the women who stay in these relationships, and Har really opened my eyes and was like, you know what? Like, I don't think anyone should judge, first of all, a woman for staying, because she always has her reasons, but also don't punish her or alienate her for those decisions, because she's already alone and she's already feeling like she can't go to anybody because of what she's going through. And did you feel like you were too ashamed to go to them, or were you scared, or were you afraid that they were going to try and get you out of the relationship and then things might get worse for you? Like, what was your main reason to stay?
Well, I didn't have the strength to leave. He had put me in a place that he made me feel like I couldn't leave. Like if I ever tried leaving, and I mean, statistics show that women in an abusive relationship leave, 12 times, I think it is, prior to actually leaving for good. So I did. I left. I mean, even his family was on my side, and I went and stayed at his sister's for a week, and they hid me.
Wow.
But they're, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll get you back, everything will be perfect, everything will be great. And I'll work on my alcohol, I'll go to AA, and and we can do this, and I can't lose you. And then it's how a narcissist works. It's, I'm a loser for doing this to you, and you're amazing, and you've been the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I know I'm a loser, and it's because of this, and it's because of that. He was always going back to, I lost my father, and and I lost my father before I could learn how to be a man, and you showed me, and you're doing this for me. And so they build you back up, and then you end up going back. And I mean, I tried leaving. I went and stayed with my cousin. I mean, I hadn't spoken to my cousin in years, and I called her one time, and her and I had left things on a really shitty term, and I called her and I told her I needed a place to stay, and she was like, my door's open. Here's the code. Like, she wasn't even home. She sent me to her house, and I hid out at her house, and it was just, but then, I mean, at some point you're going to need something from home, or at some point, cops are looking for you, or
where were the kids? I was going to ask through all of this then.
His kids, it was like 50-50 with his ex. So I would take my baby. I would take my kids with me. It was mostly when Jolie was younger, my eldest. It was mostly when she was younger that I would do the in and out thing. So I would take her with me. I would take them with me. And then, of course, he would call the cops, because now I'm a runaway kidnapping. So there's a fear as that as well. And when and then social services did get involved a couple times. So I had to prove to them that I wasn't ill fit or in, causing them any harm, and that I was leaving for a good reason. And which is, I mean, when you're in a traumatized place, it's pretty hard to, and especially when you're feeling worthless, it's really hard to explain to a social worker that you are a good mother, or that you're doing things for the right reason. So yeah, it was, I mean, the kids would come with me. And
did they witness any of that?
Yeah.
I mean, they were younger. Do they ask you questions about it? Now?
We've had really open and candid conversations about it, because I want them to know that they can talk to me about anything and everything. So the youngest doesn't really remember. She remembers fighting. She remembers screaming and fighting. And she does remember there was one Christmas that he spat in my face in front of the kids.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah.
I could still vividly remember when I didn't get, I think it was water.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I was like I felt like I was drowning. I was like, who the fuck do you think you are doing? Like, I was livid, but that was one of the peaks that it led, because I fought, even with words, until I just couldn't fight anymore. I don't know what it was, because I was like a firecracker. I was like, don't fucking, I think the one time I wound it up and I smacked him in the face, because I was so mad with the words that was spewing out of his mouth, and he was calling me a dirty slut and da-da-da. So I wound it up and I smacked.
It's human instinct.
Yeah, and then the first thing I did was I backed away and I said, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I said, that is not me. I do not hurt people. I was just so mad. And he kind of just laughed at my face and was like, you think you're going to hurt me? I was just like.
And then it even kicks you down a couple more notches, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, what possesses someone to think it's okay to spit in my face?
Yeah.
And to someone who says that loves you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to spit
in front of my kids. It was, we had agreed not to get each other anything for Christmas.
Yeah.
It was a thing. It was that we were broke. And he was like, let's not get us each other anything for Christmas. I got him a hoodie from the kids. And he was like, you did that just to make me look like a fucking asshole. And he spat in my face. And I'm like, I got you a hoodie. Like,
From your kids.
from the kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't from me. It was from the kids. I just wanted you to have something open for Christmas. And he's like, well, I didn't get you anything. And that's what you wanted me to look like, an asshole. And he fucking spat in my face. And I was like, cool. Merry Christmas, bitch. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a dick. Yeah.
So
So,
I obviously you need to collect your own thoughts and process that.
mhm.
But how did you like take the kids after and say, listen, that was really not appropriate? And like how did that play out when the kids were there?
So my youngest Juno, she was she was around, but she was so little that she doesn't remember a whole lot of it. My eldest is super sensitive. And if you raise your voice to her, and I think it's because she heard so much of it growing up, that she crumbles. She hates loud noises. She hates fighting. She's super sensitive to everything and anything. She'll talk to me about it. I mean, we don't talk so much about it anymore because there's no sense in beating a dead dog, but she's asked me a million questions, and I just tell her, I'm like, this is why mom and dad aren't together anymore, is because dad did not respect mom, and mom's not going to allow someone to disrespect her like that, and you don't allow someone to disrespect you like that. When somebody does not respect you, you walk away. You always have the choice to walk away. And, you know, and I told her, like, and Jolene, like, I tell her all the time, you gave me strength. Like, you are the person who made me strong enough to walk away.
Yeah.
Like, I needed you just as much as you need me. And, you know, so I explained it to her like that, you know, like, no one is allowed to hurt you. No one's like, and of course, in relationships, not like just like between her and I, we're going to hurt each other. Sometimes we're going to say things that we don't mean.
Yeah.
But it's how you come back and learn from that. And I said, you know, not everything's going to be perfect, but when somebody's hurting you and you know that there's not going to be an end to it and there's not getting any better, you walk away. And I feel she understands it. And then sometimes she'll still, you know, ask questions like, why was dad so mad at you when we were little? And I'm like, and she is aware. She's 9. She's not stupid. She's aware that he has a drinking problem.
Yeah.
She mentions it, you know, when she goes for her visits, she'll be like, oh, dad was drunk. And it sucks that a 9-year-old knows what a drunk person looks like.
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm there for her. I'm there to catch her when something happens. So, and she understands because he's still verbally abusive with all the women in his life as well.
So when you found out that he was married and had all these kids,
oh my God.
what was your...
No. Like, okay, it's not even...
I know it's not funny, but I'm like...
No. You want funny. Here's like the crazy train from Aussie. Okay, so my mom's like, okay, so we're going to get married tomorrow. Fuck. Okay, this is happening. My daughter is marrying someone who's 15 years older than her. Okay, and he's an alcoholic, and they live on a main floor with 6 people, and this sucks. So she knew, like, obviously my parents, they're super acceptant, like, amazing, but they were like, this is just rabbit hole. This is not good. So my mom's like, okay, so we know that you were married before, so we need your divorce certificate. And he's like, okay, yeah, no problem. So we went down to the courthouse, and he's like, yeah, here's my ID. I need my divorce certificates. And the little clerk's like, okay, click, 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 click. And then the printer fucking starts printing. And I'm not shitting you. I'm his 4th wife. Thanks for letting me know prior to less than 24 hours before we're getting married.
So that was 7 years of friendship, and you had
No idea. 4 divorces later.
Wow.
He got married like fresh out of high school, and then he got married to the mom of his first set of kids, and then he got married to this other woman who had a second set of kids, and then me. I was his 4th wife. And I'm like, fucking red flags are like, ping, 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 ping,
Of
ping,
course,
ping, ping, ping,
yeah.
ping, ping. And he's like, you know, and I'm like, looked at him and I'm like, the fuck is this? You know, and he's like, you know, and of course, and then he spins it around like, it doesn't matter. And why are you so inquisitive? Like, why do you always have to judge me? And blah, blah, blah. You think you're so much better than me, but you're so young. You have no idea. This is what life looks like. And I'm like, I don't fucking know anybody who's been married 4 times.
And lies about it.
Okay.
So yeah. So yeah, let's make a joke about that.
But you know what? When you talk about red flags,
Yeah.
fuck, I have to laugh. So this particular person, I'm not going to name names because somebody's just, like, his family's probably going to, I had to literally block them because they're fucking crazy too.
Yeah.
Didn't know how many baby moms or actually how many kids he had. I only know the 2 of, but at the very, very end of it, he had a lot of kids and baby moms that I didn't know about because I saw several paper when I was cleaning shit up, and I was like, how was I oblivious to not knowing he had like 6, probably 7 kids?
Yeah.
And this is
Maintenance enforcement's like, hey.
Yeah, you know, and I was like, and I don't want to be like the 8th or 9th baby moms.
Guys, I want to go home and ask Mark if he has any illegitimate kids. I'm just going to be like, tell me now.
Yeah.
Or if he's been married before. Like,
right?
Okay, first of all, oh, I know we shouldn't make light of joke.
Let's absolutely make light of the fact that I married a man made out of red flag, or like a box of red flag.
Basically.
Well, we do have to laugh at some things. But first of all, domestic violence or not, if you have been fucking divorced multiple times, I think you have to tell your partner. I also dated a guy who said he was divorced, and then when there was just things that were like missing. When I asked him about it, and his stories he wasn't divorced yet. He's like, oh, the papers were filed, but I want to be with you. I was like, first of all, I don't think so. Like,
and it's like,
just tell me.
Honest.
Just tell me.
It takes some people like 10 years to get divorced. Like, honestly, I don't give a shit but as long as you're being goddamn honest, like,
I'll still be with you. Just like, why do you have to hide that?
Because now you're not only not divorced and still married, but now you're a fucking liar too.
Yeah.
Like, no.
He was just trying to trap you first.
Yeah, and I was trapped at that point. So, yeah, that was fun.
So how long did this last? And when was your last straw, and what did you do about it?
Ooh, cool. Okay.
We're getting to the good part.
Yeah, so he used to, so I ran a day home when I wasn't allowed to work outside the home. I tried, and it was just like crash and burn.
You weren't allowed, according to him?
Yeah, to work outside the home. So after my second kid, after my first kid, I started running a day home. I was like, you know what, I'm just like, we didn't have any money to pay for daycare anyways, because he was always spending it all. Any job that I could get at that point was like not great. Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to run a day home. And I was actually really successful at it. It was so much fun because no other job in the world can you like tie-dye shirts at 2:00 in the afternoon and stuff like that. So like it was really, I really enjoyed it. And I could raise my own kids as well. And so he would always, I mean, I had so much anxiety. I would like take the kids to the park, and then if he drove by and saw me talking to another parent, like another mom or another day home lady, he would lose his shit on me. And so I remember one day so we were married just about 5 years. It was in September, and we would have been married 5 years, I think, in November. And he yelled at me. He called me and he yelled at me, and I don't remember what the hell. I don't even remember. But this was like he would go to work and he would yell at me on the phone, and then I would have so much anxiety until he comes home. Like I'd be like, how can I make this better? How can I calm him down? And I would literally sit there and stress with children running around and try not to snap when you're so uptight. So I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking done. So I had prior to this started counseling. And I told him that the counseling was to make me a better wife for him. But it was because I was so lost that I was starting to get suicidal. Like I knew I loved myself enough to know that I didn't want to die and I didn't want to take my own life, but I felt so worthless that what other choice did I have at that point? So, and I had been in counseling before like entering this relationship with him. And it was always a really positive thing. Like obviously I'm open and I'm like word vomit, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this counseling. And I met this incredible lady that I found on Kijiji, believe it or not. And she was in Ontario, and she would call me every week. And you know, she would charge me for this 1 hour and we would end up talking like for like 3 or 4. And she had been in similar situations, maybe not as bad, but I mean, like she was extremely supportive and she turned out to be a friend that I didn't have anybody else. Right.
Yeah.
So she would call me and she'd be like, how was your week? And I would fall apart. And she gave me strength. She's like, you were not like his punching bag. He is not allowed to take this out on you. And she, you know, she would try to give me techniques to talk to him, calm him down. And I'm like, nothing works. And then at one point she was just like, you know what? You're married to a fucking narcissist. He's gaslighting you. He treats you like shit. Like, at what point are you going to be like, I have 2 kids and I'm not allowed, like, he's not allowed to talk to me like that. He's not allowed. I'm not going to raise my children to think that this is okay. She's like, how would you feel if your daughter was being abused like this? And I'm like, I want to kill the guy. And she's like, so what makes it okay that you're getting treated like this? So yeah, he called me the one day and he was like, rah, he yelled at me and I hung up the phone and I was so upset. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. Like, this is it. And I didn't have an exit strategy or a plan in any way, shape or form, but I knew that this was it. And I called a locksmith and I called like several locksmiths and they were all like, oh, we could be there like next Tuesday. And I'm like, so finally I got a hold of this one guy and he's like, I can be there tomorrow. And I broke down crying and I'm like, this needs to be today. It needs to be now. And I don't know what came over me because at that point I was such a private person because I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And it came out of me. I was like, I need your help. I'm kicking my husband out of the house. He's abusive. And if he comes home and he's allowed back in this house, he will kill me. Like, I was like, he is killing me slowly every day. And I'm like, but this is like to the point right now that like it's live or die. And he was like, I'll be right there. And he came and he changed all the locks on the house, all the locks on the window. And he worked super fast while my ex-husband was calling me and being like, still yelling at me. And I'm like on the phone, like, sorry, babe. And I was writing him notes to this locksmith, like this door, that door. I need this key to match this key. And like,
Crazy.
and the guy was so fucking amazing, like so amazing. And at the end, like, I don't even know if he charged me. Like, he was like, he worked so diligently and like quickly and just like, and he just left me the keys and he was just like, good luck. And if you ever need anything, call me. Like, he was like this little old man. He was just like, if you never need anything, call me. Yeah. And then the kids were like quiet time or whatever, watching a movie. And I started grabbing all his shit out of the closet and I was fucking throwing it out the window. And I'm like, nope. And he came home and all his shit was on the front lawn. And he was like, I'm going to call the cops. And I was like, do it. Like, do it. What do I have to lose at this point? Like, my fucking house. Take the fucking house. Take the fucking vehicles. Take everything. I don't give a shit, but it ain't going to be me anymore. Like, I will no longer be your target. And it was just, like, so empowering.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Was he totally taken back by that? Like, whoa, she fought back?
I think he kind of enjoyed the challenge of, like, okay, she's leaving, but I'll make her come back. So I think that was like the first time I've ever kicked him out of the house. That was cool. But yeah, I think he was like, this is just another game, right? Like, I'm going to win her back. And I think he gathered pretty quickly that I was done because I applied for the divorce even before the separation was over. Like, the lawyer was like, we can't do this right now. And I'm like, let's get it ready for my 1 year. Yeah, I want it. Like, I want my divorce on my 1 year. Yeah. So I started the process like right away. I took like my parenting after separation courses and like I was just like full throttle. Like, this is it. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you threw his stuff outside and the cops obviously came. Did he call the cops?
Yeah, they came.
So what did the cops say? Like, he was just like, you need to. Was there any dialogue between the cops, you and him, like, because of verbal anything?
No, they came to the door.
Yeah.
He was standing on the street. They made him stand on the street. And they're like, so what happened here? And I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm done being abused. And I mean, he's been married 4 times and he's an asshole. This was not his first confrontation with the police. And I'm sure when they brought up his name, they're like, domestic abuse. Like, and he is.
Yes. Does he have records?
I don't know. I don't know,
he
but
didn't even know he was married 3 times. So how would you know that?
Well,
I don't know, but like I know his first or his second wife and I got along really well once I found out about her.
Mm-hmm.
And she would tell me some pretty crazy stories.
did she reach out to you? How did you get? Oh, because she had
'Cause
kids.
she had the kids, and half the time she couldn't talk to him, so she would talk to me. She'd be like, he owes me some child support, and blah, 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 and I would pay her or whatever, So she was really cool. Actually, one of the times that I did try to leave him, she took me in, so that was pretty. She was really, but and that's kind of going back to what you said, and actually, her and I talked about it on the phone as well when she first called me. To tell somebody like, oh, you're stupid for not leaving, or what the fuck's going on, or whatever, it's totally, you're backpedaling that person. You're putting them into a lower space, into a worse place than they already are. We know in that moment that we shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Telling us we shouldn't be there isn't helping. It's not providing that help. And I do have a friend right now who is in a similar situation, and I don't know how bad it is. I just know I see the signs of her being in an abusive relationships. And I tell her all the time that she can call me anytime. I will send her an Uber if I can't pick her up myself. And she knows the code to my house, and I never question her. And the days that she comes, she will. She'll come to my house. She'll sleep on my couch. She'll come and snuggle up in bed with me if she needs. She'll cry her eyes out, and the next day she goes right back to her boyfriend. And whatever, I'm fine with that. I'll never judge her for that, because like I said, it takes so many tries to leave an abusive relationship. So never judge somebody, never put them out. And the best thing that you can do for someone you love that's in an abusive relationship is to create a safe space for them for when they do need to leave.
Right. Like, don't alienate them. And like when her and I are cousins, I don't know if she told you.
No,
but
did I tell you? I guess I didn't tell you.
Like growing up, we were pretty close, like in different points of our lives, but like before this podcast and like a couple of years ago, we weren't. And then when she finally told me everything that happened, I'm like, what the, like, I was shocked, because she's always been such a strong person in my eyes that I was just on everything that she told me. Even now to this day, she'll be like, hey, you want to know something? And she'll tell me something else about what happened to her. And I'm like, I'm just floored, because I'm like, I had no idea. She's like, well, I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't talk to anybody. And I was like, you could have talked to me. And she's like, Ashley, like, seriously, I would have if I could have. Yeah. And, I'm always just like, how could this person who's like so strong in my eyes have gone through that without me knowing? And, it just goes to show, like, you just never know. And I knew that if she could have left, she would have, because she's always just been that girl, like, and that woman. And even with me, I'm not innocent in all this. Like, I didn't go through relationships to the extent that you guys did, but I was like verbally abused. I was, called a slut and like, you're worthless. This one guy said to me, the same guy actually was like, I knew I couldn't turn a hoe like you into a housewife. And I was like, what? Yeah. Anyways, and she played a big part in saving me from that relationship. I think that if it had gone on any longer, it probably would have gotten physical, and I'm glad that ended. But fast forward to years later, had I known that it was happening to her, I was just like, I was really, really shocked.
But there's really nothing you can do. You can tell somebody to leave until you're blue in the face.
True.
But until they're ready. Yeah. And it's like, it takes a totally different kind of strength. Like, I feel like I'm strong, and I feel like being a single mom is strong, and being a working single mom is strong. And I feel like I'm strong at work. I tell contractors to go fuck themselves every day. And anybody at work would think that I'm a really strong woman, and my friends, my family, but the strength that it takes to leave an abusive relationship is completely different than any other strength there is out there.
I said I wasn't going to cry on this podcast, but I have never felt so alone in my entire life.
Yeah.
Until this day, when I think about it, it takes me back to the alone part.
Yeah.
I was so, and maybe because my family and my friends didn't understand how to help me.
Yeah.
But when I did want to leave, nobody wanted to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
No one.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed because I had nobody. And it was why? I couldn't explain why. Like, I don't know why I stayed. It's just every piece of me was dying every day.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it.
And a little more every day.
That I hated myself. I've never hated myself in my entire life until that moment. And, you know, everyone's just like, that's not the 𝘰𝘰𝘀 that we know. I was like, you're fucking absolutely right. I'm not the 𝘰𝘰𝘀 that you guys knew, because I'm literally dying. And like, I know that you had mentioned with your daughter asking questions. I mean, this person that I was in a relationship with is not my son's father, but my son actually left home when this was all happening. I didn't have my son for 3 months. He went with his dad. And fast forward, like, years and years later, my son's still dealing with it. Like, I've always been open, like, about things. There was a lot of accusation thrown at me. And let me set the record straight for everybody who thought I was on drugs. I wasn't. Let me set the record straight. I was not on drugs. My behavior was erratic because I was hiding my relationship from my family, because I was seeing the person that I wasn't supposed to be seeing. That's the only reason. So I really needed to set that for the record, because I've never done that my entire life. And my son asked me, like, he was like, were you on drugs? That's why you stayed with this person? And it was so hurtful.
But it's like, they need to know a reason. They need, because, and unless you've been in that position, I mean, my parents asked me the same thing. They were like,
I can't tell. Even if I asked you today, or you asked me today why I stayed, I don't fucking know. I just
I had
did.
no other option. I felt like a piece of shit. I felt like I had no strength.
Like,
alone. I felt alone.
I don't know what it does to a person where somebody just really just tells you, if I told you every day how ugly you are and how disgusting you are, whatever, and then
no one will ever love you.
Yeah, and then build yourself up the same breath. You know, it's a fucking roller coaster. And you're just like, am I really a piece of shit? Like, you start questioning your own self. And it's, you know, it's tough, you know, and even till, and this was what I wanted to ask is, like, fast forward now, do you ever get certain feelings? Because,
all the time.
Because sometimes I feel like I'll have dreams, or it feels so real, and it feels like I'm there. Sometimes I can't go in different parts of the city in Calgary, or in certain areas, because I get anxiety, and I'll just, I zone out, and it's like you know, it's like you see yourself, but you're not really there, but you think you're there, and then you're reliving the thing, and it's just disgusting. And, you know, when people are like, are you okay? You're like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. But you, like, everything inside your body is just yelling, because you don't know how to tell it to shut the fuck up. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, hold your composure.
That will ever go away.
Like, I don't know. Like, does it ever go away?
I don't think so. I mean, does a war veteran ever stop having PTSD? Like,
and that's exactly what it is. It's PTSD.
Oh, totally. Yep. And I still get those all the time. I don't dream about it anymore, like I did for a really long time. And sometimes it, like, you know, that feeling like when you're trying to run and you can't. Yeah. Things like that. But I mean, I suffer PTSD daily, like absolutely 100%. I question myself in everything I do. I still look at myself in the mirror and feel disgusting. And I still feel inadequate. I have a really, really hard time being intimate with people. Like, that's a big one, is the intimacy and being vulnerable and being completely transparent. I have worked really hard at building this, like, big, tough, rough exterior. And I have these, like, great fucking walls that are surrounding me that I don't know if anyone will ever break through. And that's, I mean, every single day is like, I want to love. I want to.
But it's hard.
I want to be in love so bad. But I don't trust anybody anymore.
Because someone took your trust.
Yeah. Like, I trusted my ex-husband. He was my friend. Yeah. I trusted him so much. The father to my children, when I grew up in a family that was like, you get married, you work through it, you know, my mom and my dad have hated each other at some points, and then yet they still love each other, you know, like, so I really, every day I feel a little bit like a failure, like I'm judged quickly because I have this like tainted past, like, though, I mean, everybody's divorced now. I mean, it's like having a belly button at this point, but I still feel a little bit of, you know, guilt and remorse, and like, I wish, you know, I don't know, like, I know that I did everything I possibly could. I went to AA meetings with him. I supported him. I gave him money. I gave him,
that's
like,
not your, what I'm learning.
It's not my job, but I did everything I possibly could. And I'm the kind of person that's like, I will expel everything I could possibly do prior to giving up.
And that was 5 years. That's a long time.
And out of his 4 marriages, I was the longest one that took his fucking bullshit.
Oh, there
so
you go.
I feel like I'm the strongest one of them all. But no, in all honesty, no, the PTSD, I don't think it'll ever go away. And I'm still in counseling.
So my question is, given the circumstances, do you ever think in your head, like, I did love him? Or are you like, I was an idiot?
I did.
Yeah.
At one point, I did.
Yeah.
I think that when we like started seeing each other and it wasn't like friendship anymore, we started kissing and stuff. I did love, and I think someone to stick around for 5 years through a lot of bullshit, I think I did love him.
Yeah.
Was I ever in love with him? I don't know. I think I loved him.
Yeah.
I think I felt I needed to be there for him because he made me feel like he had nobody else, right? So he put me on that place. But
I feel like that's what they do, though, because that was like how it all happened. Like, I felt bad. Like, when I wanted to leave, it was like, you brought me here and now I have nothing. And then I felt like a piece of shit. I was like, oh, okay, I think I can make this work. Yeah. Until you just realized you're like, oh my God.
Then I see him like, and he's had lovely girlfriends. And I mean, some girlfriends are not my favorites. I had to get a restraining order against them.
Oh, dear. Wow.
But he dated this one girl for about 1.5 years, and she was amazing. And actually, I was her safe place. When she would fight with him, she would come to my house and be like,
so you guys just had like a club of all these women.
How about you guys just tell these women, don't bother with him?
I've tried. I'm like, he is going to ruin you.
Is he dating right now? Is your ex?
Yeah.
Is he on Bumble, Tinder? Tell me what it is so I don't swipe.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
He's on Tinder every like few months because he'll get into these relationships and these girls will catch on to his bullshit and then they leave. But like every so often he'll find one that sticks around for longer than a few months, and I feel really bad for them. And the one that he was with for 1.5 years, I enjoyed her. I thought she was great. And actually the entire time that we were married, I barely ever fought back, but she would fight back. And there was like times where he would like be bleeding out of an ear and I'd be like, yeah, bitch, that's right. You know, like I'd be like, yes, like, you know, good. And I'm like, I would never like sock someone in the head, but like, yeah, if anybody in the world's going to deserve it, it's him. Like, absolutely. Yeah. So I quite enjoyed her, but yeah, I see him doing the same thing to women. So I know, like, I felt like there was something keeping me there because I needed to be there for him, but I'm like, I'm just a warm body. Like because he's just playing the same game with these other girls, and it wasn't like my dedication to him wasn't his dedication to me. You know?
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah.
It's a game.
So go ahead.
Sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna say you two are fucking warriors and badass women. And like, I sit here and I am just humbled by how strong both of you are. And, you know, in the beginning, when you were talking about your daughter, about how she's like so sensitive to everything, that when anyone yells, she crumbles. That's me. Like, your daughter is my spirit animal. That's exactly me. I feel like I'm not, you know, I'm not up there when it comes to that stuff. But you two have overcome so much. Like, the fact that we're sitting here and you did it with kids.
Yeah.
Like, that must have been the hardest fucking shit to go through, because having a kid and being a mom is the hardest thing, right? But to have to go through all of that and getting like beat up emotionally and physically all the time, like, how did you stay strong for your kids? Like, how did you talk yourself through that?
I think, and I think you can contest to this. I think I think I would have been a goner if I didn't have kids.
So my circumstance is a little bit different. If that circumstance, I don't know, I feel like this is so shocking. If fuck it, whatever, I'm already committed. This person actually passed away, which while I was in this abusive relationship. He died while I was out of the country, which was a fight because I had to go travel back home with the rest of my family because my grandma had passed away. And my neighbors actually found him because I had a dog at the time. Anyways, if whatever forces wasn't, I never wish death on anyone, but if he hadn't passed away, I'd probably still be with him, and I'd probably be in 9 feet deep in.
Yeah.
Because I had nobody anymore. The only people, like, I had an exit strategy coming from the Philippines. Because it was funny because I was traveling to Vancouver for work and then coming back, and my neighbor texted me because she knew what was happening. She's like, I knew it was off somehow. So she was my outlet. She heard, "You fucking cunt." And I was leaving to get onto to the airport. And I texted her. I'm like, listen, I'm hopping on a plane to go to Vancouver. And then I'm going to come back here. But when I come back from the Philippines, I need an exit strategy. I need him out of my house. I don't have anybody else to go to because my family wasn't talking to me. Like, literally, I went to the Philippines, like, nobody was talking to me. I was by myself at my grandma's funeral. Like, in the corner, nobody spoke to me because I was still with him. Like, it was like gut-wrenching. And I was like, you guys can have empathy for me. Like, I'm here for my grandma. Anyways, that's another story. But, yeah, he passed away, and then I flew back home, and whatever forces that got me out of that situation. At first, I didn't understand it because I was all over the place, but now that I'm better and I can have I'm thinking clearly, I'm like, someone was looking out for me. Because I keep thinking at the time where cops actually got, like, when he fucking smacked me around, he, like, threw me in places that I just, like, it was crazy. I was, like, all bloodied up, and I'm thinking that's going to happen again to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm running down across the street with, like, just my T-shirt and underwear all bloodied up, like, trying to get help. I was like, I can't, because, like, I need my son. Like, it's always been my son and I can't imagine I'm not there with him, you know? So whatever forces it was. So, and when my son left and I was just stuck with him, I laid in his bed for like 3 months while my son wasn't with me. Like, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, sacrificing my son for this guy, and he's not even the baby daddy. Like, fuck, it's not worth it. Like, I was really, really trying to shake myself out of whatever thing I was in. Yeah. Just so I can get, like, just give me the strength to get back. Because every time I left him, I think someone was saying it was like the Stockholm syndrome. It's like you think about them and it's like, why? And I'm thinking in my head, I was like, can you stop thinking about him? And the other times, like, I know, like, sometimes I'd walk out and my fucking windows were smashed when I, like, wasn't even with him and I left. Like, I literally had to time the time that I was leaving to go play volleyball or anywhere else, telling my family, because if I didn't have a text, they knew something was wrong. Like, it wasn't a way to live. No. It just wasn't. So,
and I think something that needs to be said is that they say that after leaving an abusive relationship, they say the first, 3 to 6 months afterwards is the most dangerous, because that's when the abuser becomes more abusive.
Did you feel that way then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never, after we split, I never skipped a stride, because I was like, this is survival at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if I didn't have my kids, I think I would have killed myself. I really do, because of the way that I was feeling, the way that he was making me feel. And I literally didn't feel like a person anymore. Didn't have anybody anymore. I couldn't be honest with anybody and tell anybody how I was feeling, because I was so afraid that he would find out that I was talking to anybody. But yeah, as soon as we broke up, I was like, you fuck with me and I'll fuck back with you. Like, I was like, no, I'm not losing this one. Like, I am not losing this battle. So like, there's a few times where he'd show up at the house and I'd have to call the cops. I've blocked him on my phone and like, whatever. If he was getting irate, he called, and I was running a day home. He called social services on my day home. Like, I was under investigation. They came into, and it was a private day home, and they came in and they visited my day home periodically for, months. They would just show up and be like, look in my fridge and make sure that my medicine and my cleaning stuff. And I'm like, sure, come on in. Like, these kids, we were legitimately sitting around doing bubbles and chalk drawings and stuff. But, I actually live right down the street from his brother's house. And whenever I'd hear his truck drive by, even if it was just going, and he would say he was going to his brother's house. I called bullshit on half the time, but I could hear his truck and his muffler, and I'd be like, ugh. And like, still to this day, like when I hear the loud muffler, like I'm like, that, I'm like, and I know he doesn't even own that truck anymore, but I'm like it still makes my heart skip a beat when I'm laying in bed. Yeah. So so I fought pretty, and I owe it all to my counselor, because if I didn't have her, I wouldn't have had the strength to leave. I wouldn't have had the strength to do because after we split, I just hit the ground running, and I'm like, this is what needs to be done. And she guided me through it. She was like, this is what you need to do. You need to get your parental agreement in place. And she's like, do not let him have the children, because he will take the children, and you don't have a parental agreement, and he will take them, and he doesn't have to bring them back. So, and she was like, he will use this against you. This is what abusers do. So she was awesome. Like, she really guided me through everything. And but she was the only person I had at that point. So, but yeah.
So Josie, you are beautiful.
Thank you. So are you.
And I can tell you everything, and I just, you have this energy about you, and it's not because we have something in common, but you literally walk through that door, and I was like, hi, like it was already like, you have something, you have this journey right now. You're running a podcast. I know we're almost out of time. We could talk forever, but you have this podcast that you're also running, which is called Confessions of a Single Mother, or Confessions of a Single Mother.
Yeah.
Tell us what we can expect from your podcast.
Okay, so I haven't shared my story yet, because I feel like it's more important for me to share other women's stories first, because I'm always like, I feel like mine will be like part 1 of 74 of Josie's story. Yeah. It's just, it's like you ladies, it's just community, a safe place to talk. Obviously a lot of us are single mothers, and it's taboo. It's something that we don't want to talk about, or we're ashamed to talk about, or like, hey, guess what? Everyone's a failure at some point in their life. We failed at a marriage. Does not make us a bad person. It actually makes us like maybe a little bit stronger of a person. And we don't always get the support that we need, and we don't always get this encouragement. So you know what? We all got here wanting different things. Like, we were all married or with somebody at some point that we thought we were going to be with forever. And now the outcome is that we're raising single children on our own. And that's a struggle on its own. So we all have our stories, and just let's share and talk about it and figure shit out together, you know?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, of all people, we understand and we appreciate the shit out of that because, I mean, we're all standing here with one common thing, right? Is like we're trying to advocate for our kids and focus on, you know, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
And I love the community and how we're part of a generation that doesn't sugarcoat motherhood.
Yeah.
And there are very few that do. And we're just like, we call bullshit all the time on these people.
I'm like, fuck you and your perfect
right?
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, that's
right?
bullshit.
You know what? Like, your kid wore that dress for 3 seconds for that picture and then shit in it. Like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't fucking lie to me.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what we're all about too. So like, we appreciate that. And thank you so much for being so candid and so open. And, you know, even though you're saying that you have your own podcast, but you don't want to tell your story, you want to tell other women's stories first. Like, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Being
Thank
so
you.
open.
Thank you so much.
You have given me inspiration to share my own personal story because I have not shared that on the podcast.
No, she's
now
not.
everyone's going to know.
Well, it's always been a sensitive topic for her. She's always like,
I'm
you know,
private about
one
it.
one day maybe. And then you came along and she's like, she finally had the strength to.
Yeah. I feel it took me a long time to start talking about it, but
Yeah.
tigers need to roar, right?
Yeah.
You're not a kitten anymore, lady.
Yeah.
Get
And
it?
I feel like more women will start coming out because it's like, oh, I was in that position, or like, fuck, like I'm hearing stories of like doctors, CEOs in abusive relationships. I'm like, oh, what?
And I think when you're in it, you don't really know you're in an abusive relationship.
No,
so hopefully
no.
somebody who's listening can kind of like that switch can come on and be like, this is abusive, this is gaslighting, this is narcissist, this is, you know, because I mean, and all of us experience different kinds of abuse as well. But if me sharing my story can help one person, and like I know that's a really cliche thing to say,
It's not,
but
nothing's
Not at all.
cliche.
I just fucking run and PM me.
Yeah. PM us.
Yeah, PM me
We're
and be like,
here.
I need a safe place to go because you know what, my house is fucking huge. I used to have 6 kids, so I'm down to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
thank you again, Josie. So, but before we go, for anyone who is in a situation or needs help, there is help. Even if you just want to talk about it, we'll have links to this podcast with all the help, like Women's Shelter, 1-800 numbers. If you want to reach out to Josie, we'll throw Josie's handles on there. She's on Facebook, and her handle is, I wrote it down here, but you can tell them what your handle is.
Single Mother Truths. Single Mother Truths.
Yeah, and
with an
you're,
S.
yeah,
And
We'll
then,
link it anyway.
we'll link all of it, and even if you just want to say hello, you don't have to say the story. It's fine. We are we're always happy to listen.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to. You quoted something that you are always thriving through the fires of hell to get to where you belong. For those in the fires of hell at this moment, what advice would you give them today?
Reach out, because 2 is more strong than 1. So, I mean, and it doesn't matter who you reach out to. I mean, it can be a friend, family, a stranger. People are like, most of the people out there are empaths and they want to help. So reach out. So, yeah.
Thank you so much again,
Thank
Josie.
you.
And
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
Har,
much.
for being so vulnerable and sharing all that. I
Yeah.
know that was really hard for you and you were waiting for the right moment. And look at us. It took a year for you to talk about it. So,
I love
Actually,
your
it
roar.
took 5 years.
well, I
And
mean,
then
1 year on the
another year
podcast,
on
but yeah.
podcast,
So
but-
thank you both so much. I have so much appreciation
Thank
for
you.
you too.
Thanks, guys.
So that's it for us, Ham Fam. As always, we love you and appreciate all the love you guys give us. Don't forget, we're still in a pandemic, so be kind and don't forget to wash your hands, wear your masks, and most importantly, love yourself even on the hardest days.
Bye, guys.
Bye.